Johnny was proactive today. He just
Was
played
he?
the song. He just played the song. Just
Fantastic. Great.
Look at that. It's caught me by surprise. Welcome to
No
to Twofold
spoiler.
Podcast.
Wait, there are spoilers. Sorry, I'm out of it. Spoilers. Yeah. Spoilers are ready and ready for you.
Yeah, spoilers warning. We talk about spoilers.
Warning. We talk
Twofold
about spoilers
Podcast
all day, every day. That's what we do. I'm Philip. My name is
And
Philip.
I'm Tim. And this is our podcast.
I like talking about movies occasionally. I mean, most of the time. Actually, all the time. If you talk to me about a movie, I'll start talking about a movie. What about you?
I like talking about movies too. That's why we made this podcast.
You're not wrong. You're definitely not
wrong.
We
like talking about movies so much. We don't just talk about one movie. We talk about two movies.
Right. That's very good. Very well put. Yeah, that's true. So, Tim, what do we have on our schedule today? What do we have on our agenda?
Well, for some reason, we have Upside Down World, where I am Mr. Salesman, upbeat, jumping, and Phil is gloomy and doomy. So that's what's happening. But on the movie side, okay. So here's a couple of notes. So we've been a bit goof. So if you follow us on Instagram,
done goofed,
and you listen to this podcast, we've been talking about this movie cluster coming up where. Here at the end of the October and beginning of November, just a bunch of good movies are coming out. It's the cluster. We couldn't figure out which one to watch, so we asked our good friends and listeners on Instagram which one, and they've chosen French Dispatch, and we're like, okay, we'll watch French Dispatch.
Right, fantastic, yeah.
Perfect.
I haven't seen any Wes Anderson movie except Steve Zissou, Life Aquatic, and I Love Dogs. So it's perfect. Let's go.
I love dogs too. And then and then we're like, people were like, okay, watch Budapest Hotel, and I'm like, I love that movie. Phil hasn't seen it. It's perfect.
Yeah,
we're all ready to go. Before recording, we realize the movie's not yet playing in Slovakia and Croatia where we live. So we're like, oh, pupu kaka, we got to figure something out. And the choice was made for us. We found out actually from the cluster of the movies, the only movie that's currently playing for both Phil in Croatia and me here in Slovakia is The Externals. The Eternals.
You said Externals again.
Yeah.
So every time we would talk... Oh, sorry. Wait, I think my audio is too high. Every time we would... Yeah, okay, this is better. I'm so sorry. Good that I noticed it before we went an hour in.
The whole blast.
I hope I'm not too quiet for you, Tim, but that's the sacrifice that has to be made. So gearing up for this next recording to watch our movies, we would discuss like what we're watching on text, and every time Tim mentioned the Eternals, which I found out was actually the title, he would always put Externals.
Yeah.
Or I guess it would that be the automatic type fixer?
That would be autocorrect, and then I just kept typing Externals, and now it's in my brain. I can't get it out.
The Externals.
So today we watched Eternals, and then we were looking to what to compare it with, and then I remember. Well, the funny thing is,
tell us about how you landed on the next movie, because it is a bit odd, in my opinion.
Yeah. But in the end, I think it turned out to be very appropriate because, well, here's the thing. So Eternals is the new Marvel Cinematic Universe movie that just popped out. And I remember when we were watching the trailer, my wife said, oh, this looks like the DCU movies. Like, oh, this is boring. I don't want to watch this. And that was the first thought, like, okay, this does remind me of, so like the Zack Snyder DC movies. And then coming up here, to this movie, the director, she talked about, she's inspired by, what's the director's name? Terrence Malick kind of stuff.
Terrence Malick, yeah.
And I remember reading about, that was kind of inspiration for when Zack Snyder was starting his Man of Steel. And then the director of Eternals, Chloé, also said she was inspired by Superman.
Chloé Zhao.
And I was like, okay, guys, I think...
She was inspired by Superman or Man of Steel specifically?
Man of Steel.
Wow.
She had some inspiration about things for this movie, for one of the characters here that she saw in Man of Steel, and kind of similar inspiration of basically the same themes, same approach, there's similar themes to these comic characters, and there's also similar approaches to this, which is kind of humanizing and humanizing these superheroes.
I was gonna say like deified creatures.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. But yeah, deify like kind of superheroes from not just from a story point of view, but from also how you film it as well. So we thought, okay, I think Man of Steel might be a good thing to compare because we have Marvel versus DC. We have two movies that came out. Like Eternals is coming up into a already established MCU, right? There's like 100 movies already. There's been like, hey, great, the Thanos saga has been finished. It's a very established, and Eternals are popping in there. While on the other side, basically, Man of Steel was starting up the whole DCU thing. So I think there's a lot to talk about here as far as comparison. Yeah? So that's what we're talking about today.
Whoa.
Yeah, so stuff like this happened on Instagram.
Those are my energy levels.
We did a live stream. And it was amazing.
I forgot about that. That was awesome.
Thank you everyone for joining. Like that was so much fun. We just kind of did it impromptu. Like we wanted to talk about more about Dune. So we jumped on Instagram, me and Phil, and we chatted for about an hour and a half too. And a lot of you joined.
Had questions.
You joined in the conversation. Yeah. That was awesome.
It's great. I loved it. And I hope to do it again after this. It's going to be great.
Oh, yeah. We're definitely going to do this more.
On our Instagram, Twofold Podcast.
Exactly. And we're going to do it more organized. We're going to schedule it and you guys can be notified beforehand. So you can figure out, how you want to join and chat with us and talk about movies.
Groovy, baby. Wow. Tim's doing the voices. Tim's doing the voices now.
I'm Tim today. I'm Tim. I'm sorry. I'm Phil today. Let's do the intro again. Hi, I'm Phil. Welcome to Twofold Podcast, where we're talking about Eternals 1 minute at a time.
Yep. I am.
And then you do a strange noise.
I'm Tim, and today's show.
No, you're doing Jake right now.
That's Jake, isn't it? All right. Do you want to get?
Yeah, that's.
So what did I do? Oh yeah. So my theater has. I keep forgetting that even though it says on my ticket, I went to see it today at 3 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
It takes me an hour to get to the theater because it's a different cinema that's not the closer one because this one was 2D and I'm not watching that 3D garbage.
Yeah, no, skip the 3D.
I go there and I keep getting nervous, and this is the third time that I missed the time. You know what I mean? I was late. This is the third time I was late. James Bond.
Because like the travel is way too long, so you have to plan it out.
Well, it's also that I kind of don't get out of my apartment as soon as I should to give me some time before the movie. But here's the thing, though. Here's the thing.
Right.
I'm usually very good at estimating when I will arrive. The problem is the public transportation system. They're the ones who screw up for me. They don't arrive when I see it. I schedule it. Google Maps, maybe Google Maps is to blame, but Google Maps tells me this train will arrive at this time. And if I go there, it shows me the estimated time it'll arrive. And I remember that every time I start traveling on one of those public transportation trams, or did I say train? I meant tram. Whatever.
It's okay. Train, tram.
Or bus.
External, eternal. It's all good.
That I'm usually, the estimation time is usually longer than when I actually get there. For real.
How many swaps do you do to get to this magical cinema?
For this cinema, one. No swaps.
Okay, that's
actually
fine.
No swaps.
And no tiny little bus anymore. That's
no,
good, right?
The tiny little bus, that's a whole thing. So I used to live up on a hill with
where only a tiny bus could go because it's so uphill.
Because it's so uphill, and there's you could walk up there. It takes the wind out of you when you're done. It's a proper hike to get up there on foot, but you wait for a little bus, and it's a little buslet. It comes up and you get into it, and it takes you up. It's quite, it felt kind of cool, but at the same time annoying. Anyway, I'm pretty I'm pretty good at guessing when I'll be on time, but it's always the unreliable public transit that doesn't do it. That always makes me late. Okay, so this is the third time I was late to the cinema.
How late? Would you miss the movie?
no, I'll get to that. So let's
Okay.
say, I always managed to make it for Dune. I was running to get to the IMAX theater. I was running, you know. So like I think for Dune it was like at 5, and it was already 5:07, 5:09, and I'm like, I gotta
Okay.
no.
Commercials
Well,
already playing.
okay, it wasn't 5:07. I keep, this is the problem. My point is that I keep
Yes.
thinking the movie will start at the stroke
Oh,
of the
yeah.
time. And I'm always panicking about that. This is the third time I did that. And then I was thinking, no, Philip. Every time you're there, you sit in the theater with 20 minutes of ads and trailers. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
20 minutes.
I arrive late for that same reason. I arrive 15 minutes late on purpose. I don't even have the tickets bought. I come around.
Oh, good.
So
I
if
always
the
buy
movie's
them. I always buy them the night before.
Oh, well, if it's like a special thing, let's say for Dune, I had to buy those because that was a pre-premiere, so I had to buy those like a month before.
Oh
But
yeah, that sucks.
for this kind of stuff, when I'm like going at the late night shift to see a movie, like my movie started at 9:30 in the
Yeah.
evening.
Yo.
I arrived 9:30, bought myself the ticket, went to the bathroom, sat down, saw the Matrix trailer, and then the movie started. So
Okay.
I
Well,
say
good
that
for
as
you.
success.
Well, then this is what I did, and this is the mediocre stories of Phil.
All right.
I
Okay.
sit in the theater and I'm there.
Mm-hmm.
It's like 3:06, let's say,
Yeah.
and I'm just like, I could go down to get popcorn.
Oh no. Indecisions.
Yeah, and then a trailer. Okay, Batman trailer shows up.
Yeah.
The Batman. And I'm like, oh, I'll just stay watch that again. I'll look at it, give it a look. Okay, it's over, and then the obnoxious ads start playing. The ads, not the trailers.
Yes.
I could talk to you about what I feel is the best experience in movie theaters, but that's a whole. I don't know if that's going to take up too much time because I have a lot to say about the movie theater experience. And what's the most magical? But we'll hold that. Someone remind me. For a different
What's the
episode.
most magical? What would you?
Tim, you're
what's
asking me, and I said we don't have to go down this route. But
Well, give me like
to.
a short breakdown. What is the perfect experience of Phil going to cinema?
The perfect experience is,
Yes.
first of all, the number one is seeing a good movie.
Okay.
Like, so,
I guess
preferably
we'll take that for
something you're
granted.
excited about. So you're going in, and you have a lot of people in the same theater going into this hallway, this doorway, this portal. That's this dimly lit portal into the movie theater. Everyone is here for the same purpose. They're here to watch the film. They're all excited.
Experience.
Oh,
okay.
You know what I mean?
No, not really. I mean, I don't know. No, I don't care about the other people. I don't want them there mostly.
Well,
To
but
be
it's
honest.
part of the experience. It's part of the experience of all of us together. We're here to watch. Let's say I can remember very fondly Return of the King. Everyone was there. We were here to watch the last Lord of the Rings. And the excitement builds as you go into the dark, cold, not cold. Well, it's the dark, dimly lit the dark, dimly lit hallways to get into
you're
the
describing like some kind of like sacred ritual, and there's
Yes,
these people
yes.
in hoods, and they're like, "Return of the King, Return of the King."
No,
and then
but
Phil
think
walks,
about
and
it.
you start
Think about
chanting
it.
with them, "Return of the King." in the
Think
dark.
about it. No, it's great. It's great. And then you have your popcorn ready. You smell the popcorn. You smell the airy, as you get in from that tiny little hall into the big cinema screen that isn't turned on yet. It's just still dimly lit. You see this big screen that's going to turn on and fill you with light and sound when you sit down when the movie starts. But
You
still,
want the
you're
movie
all
to start like
well, no.
immediately?
You all this is what I loved about, and this is what I was going to talk about with older movie theaters.
You guys,
the older...
we need to record video next time because the gestures that Phil is making with his hands, he's like the puppet master, and he's making these hand gestures of little people going to their seats and they're about to watch the movie. It's hilarious.
And I have a hoodie on, and I put
he does have a hoodie
for
on
some reason.
It is the cult.
I do look like
theater.
like the cult of the theater, man. And so what I loved so much when I was younger, going into movie theaters when they used to play film, was, I remember when I was a kid, not that I was cognitive of that. Now in retrospect, I'm like, oof, that is the best way, because what it does is you're going into the theater, everyone's looking for their seats, you know, it's quiet murmurs, dimly lit space, you know, those like little, you know, those lights that are poking from the ceiling, you know, those, what do you call those? They're like incandescent. No, like,
I don't know. Something.
You know, the lights that are in the ceiling that are.
Oh, I mean like the halogen ones?
No, not the type of light. Geez. Never mind. Let's just cut this one out. Never mind.
Lights.
Yes, the dimly lit lights that are, you know, making pockets of lights on the floor, and you're just all gathering together, everyone's sitting down, nothing, and you can feel by the atmosphere of the giant theater how little noise you make because of how big the hall is, you know, and everyone's sitting down, you know, getting ready, and then what usually plays is very light music, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just very light. Exactly. But it's so faint that it doesn't, you know, it's just there to, you know, just be a filler. You know what I mean? And I remember when I watched Two Towers in 2002, they were playing Lord of the Rings music.
Yes.
Oh, that was like so like perfect. It's getting you in the mood, you know?
The cinema that we went to for our Star Wars ritual, they play soundtracks throughout the whole cinema.
Oh, they did, yeah, they
like
did.
That was when
great.
You're in the actual theater room. It's like that. The music is soundtrack
the lobby,
always,
yeah.
And then everywhere in the halls and also in the bathrooms, it's just soundtracks.
I love that. I think that's great. I don't know about you, Tim, but I love it.
I think it's cool. I think it puts you in the movie.
Exactly. So we're sitting down, everyone's sitting down, and when the time comes, then see, in America they used to have a slide projector before anything, and it would just show slides of, and even in Austria, I remember this.
What kind of slides? Like
family photos? No, I'm kidding.
That's what I'm thinking.
Like maybe an advertisement, like just a poster or a picture of like coming soon, you know, or what they used to do in America.
This is ridiculous. This is like, you're like, what did you grow up in the 60s? Like warning
this is
against
what they
the Soviets are coming. Like the,
no, it's not propaganda. It was like, it's like, you know, Coca-Cola. There would be like a Coca-Cola slide.
In
you know,
case
drink
of nuclear
Coke
attack,
for freshness.
Put your head under the seat.
And then another slide would be there, and it would be like, you know, half off on Mondays or whatever. And then there would be another slide, and sometimes they would actually have a fun trivia. It would be like, you know, while you're waiting for the movie to start, and with the faint music and the dimly lit lights, everything was still lit. Everyone was still looking for their seat, and you would there would be quiz. You know, there would be like, in what movie in 1988 did Eddie Murphy star in or whatever, and then the next slide would be, I don't know, Coming to America or whatever. You know.
Wait, are you describing your perfect scenario still, or this is just you reminiscing?
Well, this is half, because like if it was be my ultimate perfect fantasy version, it would be like, if we're watching Lord of the Rings, we have Lord of the Rings music, we have
Lord of the Rings trivia.
Nothing. Well, I mean, that was also, you know,
Elron recommends Coca-Cola.
I'll have
if it's good for an elf, it's good for a human.
I'll have you know that when I watched The Hobbit, the first one, they had an intermission, and the intermission had Lord of the Rings trivia.
Okay, that's cool.
Like just, you know, just questionnaires and like just, you know, like a quizzes, you know, it was on the screen. So anyway, that would be done.
Yeah.
And all the advertisements would be there already on slides. Quiet.
Okay.
One still image.
Yeah.
Not using the sanctity of the cinema screen or the cinema projector.
with their crappy audio with no bass.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That didn't exist back then because we were using film, and we just had slide projectors.
Yeah.
And then the lights would go down. We would get 3 or 4 trailers,
Mm-hmm.
and then the movie would start.
Okay.
And that's wonderful. And then that is the way that because you see it's like small, small, small. And then when the trailers are there, then you put in the big music, the big screen, lights off. Everyone's looking at the screen,
Okay.
And the second best was when, like in 2009, something like that. I remember in the States, they would start putting in like an actual projector, like a digital projector, but not the cinema projector, just the digital projector. And they would play trailers, and that would be obnoxious. Not trailers, but like advertisements and stuff.
Yes.
But at least they weren't using the cinema screen or the cinema projector. The projecting screen would be like a little box inside the big screen, because it's not going to be the cinema screen, because that is reserved for the films and the trailers.
Okay, but I do like. I think there's a point where
and now let me just cap this off by saying now it's a nightmare, and it feels like I am being shoved through a pipeline of like eye-crushing advertisements and obnoxious noise without any bass, and they're using the circumference of the screen. It felt like desecration when I was in the IMAX, and I was seeing them using the IMAX projector to project their stupid, like, go and rent the screens so you can, have a business meeting. And then cell phone advertising. And then there's like, what was that? Diners Club advertising. And I just hated it. You do not use the giant screen for that. You use it for the film. You use it to tell a story, to get people into a world, and not this. I hate it.
That's why I arrive late, so I don't have to watch those advertisements because they suck.
Well, in any case, I did go and get my popcorn, and I didn't miss anything.
That's good. That's great. Well,
I get caramel popcorn all the time.
Well, thank you for your explanation of the perfect theater experience. I unfortunately didn't grow up going to theater because the church my parents went to, it was deemed sinful to go to the cinema because that's where people go and make out in the dark. So we couldn't go. In our church, the cinema. So I didn't go to cinemas except a few occasions, but I watched movies on the VHS at home, little tiny screens. For me, perfect cinema experience is when all of it disappears. I don't care for the cinema part of it. I just want a huge screen and a good sound. That's why I like that theater I go to, because it's all black and all the decoration is gone, and just
I agree with you there.
Just nothing. Just that I want the people big seats. I don't want people close to me.
Yeah.
I want to watch the movie. And you know what I love? You talked about that experience. So for one of those screens, it's a wide screen, like a really wide screen. So when they play the advertisement, it's like whatever, like the 3/4 of the screen is for the advertisement. Yeah. And then before the movie starts, you can see the screen spreading. That's my favorite part of it. And you're like, okay, it's business time now. You can just see this.
Yeah. Well, you also see the value in separating the disgusting advertising and commercials with the feature.
There needs to be a divide, the separation of the screens.
There has to be a separation.
And Moses said, separate the advertisement from the movie, and it should be like that. The 11th commandment.
I'm sure the next step will be them putting little advertisements on the bottom of the screen as well. You know what I mean? If they would do it, they would do it.
You know what's my favorite part?
In China, they actually had that.
Ooh, okay.
They have like a little screen on the side where people can type comments.
That's weird. No, don't do that. Just watch the movie. But you know what's funny?
You see what nightmare we're getting into? What dystopian
the theater
rape of the natural world.
The Star Wars theater, they have for men in the bathroom in the pissoirs where you pee,
Pissoirs.
Pissoir. What do you call that in American? The thing you pee in. What is it?
The
urinal?
Urinal, yeah. Urinal, I don't know. I don't know how to pronounce it, actually.
Urinal. They have little screens in there. You can watch trailers as you pee.
Yeah, it's great.
Anyway, so before we talk about,
Oh, and I forgot lobby cards. That's a lost art. Love that.
I don't know what the hell that is, but sure.
It's like like I think they're production photos, and sometimes it'd be screenshots of just like papers,
Mm-hmm.
and it would be a shot of the movie, and it would just tell you the movie, and they would put it on the lobby.
Oh, okay.
It's an old thing, but it just, I remember sometimes seeing those and being like, whoa, like getting ready. Like if I want to watch a movie and I'm seeing some of the photochemically produced photos from the film, with the nice contrast, I'd be like, man, looking forward to seeing something like that, because also your imagination gets more sparked by just seeing a still image than seeing trailers all the time, on screens on the lobbies now.
Cool.
Okay.
All right, let's get down to business. Let's talk about externals. I want to ask you, Philip, what was your prior knowledge and what was your expectation going to see this movie, if any at all?
Well, ever since the Infinity War of 2018 and the Endgame of 2019, for me, the Marvel films, I'm just going to be real with you. I mean, it just feels like kind of the after party kind of thing. It just feels like, we went through it, we succeeded, and, this is just like the stuff afterwards for me.
Did you see the trailer, or did you know anything about it?
I saw the trailer. I know vaguely about what Eternal, like you mean in the like comic book continuum, like Eternals and galactic cosmic stories, you mean? Or
yeah, just in general, like what, like did you, before going into movie, what did you know? What was you expecting? What, like any based on the comics, based on prior knowledge, based on the trailer, based on anything you've heard about the movie at all?
I've just heard I don't go out of my way to look at this stuff anymore. So whatever I heard, I just heard people complaining or being obnoxious on Twitter about it, about like some controversy stuff, like, and of course the Disney, this is the first time so many, actors of different, races and, stuff are being put together. And, they always say the same thing with every movie. And I'm like, I don't care, guys. Just give me a good story. I want to see what's going to be in the film. I want to see if I'm going to see it. But like the trailers really didn't convince me into anything. Okay. I wouldn't have watched it otherwise if it wasn't for doing the podcast. Yeah.
Okay.
And the trailers didn't excite me at all. Like it just, end of the world. We've been there, and a bunch of different characters. Where were I never mind. I was
just asking.
I'm just like very
thinking anything lukewarm. Wasn't
just
concerned.
Pretty lukewarm about it. And I thought, because people are talking about how like, oh, it's a cosmic. Okay, so that means that for some reason I feel like, because I heard that the comic book cosmic Marvel world, that was started by Jack Kirby, who is, I don't know if you know who Jack Kirby is.
I've recently been, I didn't know, like, so, I really like the MCU and I knew nothing about Marvel Comics, nor the original, how it was created, when certain heroes, I knew nothing except that book I got like a week ago. We were just, I think I talked about it last podcast. We were just in the bookstore and I bought that Marvel, like from 60s, the Silver Age comic books from 60s to 70s.
Yeah.
Like the story of it with like pictures from the comic book I was putting on Instagram. And I've learned a lot, actually.
Yeah.
Now I understand. Like, Jack Kirby, the whole story, him returning from DC.
Yeah.
And then kind of doing the Internals, like basically having free reign. The Eternals. Internals. The externals and the internals. And just kind of going nuts. Well,
Jack Kirby is one of the fathers of like what we understand comic book visual language is, right?
He made Captain America, which I didn't know, like in the original Golden Age, like he was one of the creators of.
Yeah. And he's a great artist too. And so when I thought of that, I thought, skimming through a little bit of the, characters and cosmic things that happen in these comic book stories, I thought we're in for something that's very hard to explain and that's what I thought was going to happen in the Eternals, which is why I didn't really feel like watching it, because it's probably going to set up a lot of cosmic things that are boiled down to a basic level that probably will be unfulfilling.
Okay.
And
Okay.
to be fair,
Mm-hmm.
the good thing is that I understood it more than I thought I was going to come in
Okay.
understanding it. But at the same time, I was unfulfilled.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
There we go.
I think I had same general idea. I wasn't really interested in from the trailer of watching this. I was interested because the director, I watched her movie
Yeah.
that, got the Oscar, Nomadlands, and I enjoyed her approach to it. And I listened to a podcast when her and her partner talked about making that movie and their approach to making it. It was very interesting.
Yeah.
And then I still wasn't really interested in watching this movie based on the trailer. I didn't know anything that much about Jack Kirby or what's the source material. And then kind of the controversy of the bad reviews. Right now on Rotten Tomatoes is sitting as the worst rated movie of the MCU, and that kind of intrigued me of like, okay, what does this mean? And then it also intrigued me because none of the like Marvel or the creators or anyone comment on the ratings. Usually when something like an anticipated movie comes out and the ratings are bad, usually
Yeah,
the blame game
everyone's
starts.
talking about review bombing and stuff like
No, I'm
that.
not even that. It's like this. It's the review, like the Rotten Tomato ones. It's not the people. When they review bomb on IMDb,
It's
it's
the
just
critics.
the critics. Exactly, the critics gave it like a mostly kind of negative review. But it was interesting is like when that happens for these big movies, like the stars and people start blaming, like saying, oh, we couldn't do it this way, like nothing, zero. So I was thinking like, okay, there's something interesting here, maybe because if they're not talking about it, that means they kind of did it the way they want, and the critics, it's like, okay, that's not, they're not affected by that. Like they made the movie they wanted to.
Uh-huh.
So that kind of made me like, okay, maybe I'm curious to see what the movie is now. Like, what if critics hate it so much, audience like it,
Mm-hmm.
nobody's kind of like reacting to it. So that was my yeah. So I was curious to see what the movie is. So let me give you people who are not going to watch it a brief, and Jake, a brief descriptions. So the Eternals are a bunch of folks. I think there's 8 of them. They're sort of created. They're celestial beings, the Eternals.
Well, there's
And they're
created by a celestial.
Well, we find that out later. But
Oh,
anyways,
whoops.
that's okay. We're spoiler podcast. Anyway, so they come to Earth about 7,000 years ago when the first civilization, Mesopotamia and Babylon is turning out, and they're sent from space to here to protect humans from these things called deviants, which are like kind of like bionicle creatures that want to kill humans, and they're sent here to protect them because humanity, they're like protectors. The humanity deserves to grow, right? But whatever. That's the whole point. Like, but this movie is about after present day. One of their leader dies because. Well, sorry, I forgot to mention that after I don't know a couple of thousand years to kill all those deviants, and now they just remain on Earth, waiting to
Yeah,
be
they're
sent
just
home.
like they remain on Earth and
Yeah,
are
and
like us,
and they
They're
lived
just-
with humans, so some
yeah.
of them developed, like they've grown, and they
Yep.
all have different experiences of what it means to be living with humanity.
But they do live with modern people. It's just
Yes.
like that one movie we watched in 2020 with Charlize Theron,
Oh yeah, the
old guard.
Yeah. So
Except they don't
they're
do
hiding.
anything like
yeah,
that.
they're hiding. We don't know about them. They're not. Nobody knows them. They can't interfere. They can only interfere if those evil bionicles are attacking.
Deviant arts.
Deviant artists are. And then this plot of this movie is their leader. She dies.
Yes.
And one of the other
Ajax, right? That's her name.
there's 4. The 4 are like warrior types, and then 4 are like smart types, like like scientists.
They're smart types.
Scientists.
Well, there's some
the leader
elemental
dies.
types. One of them does illusions. One of them does transformations.
Yes.
One of them is full of science and knowledge.
Yes. And essentially, the thing is, turns out that their leader dies, and there's this whole twist. They actually find out that they're not there to protect humans because these celestial beings love humans and life. Actually, the whole planet Earth is an egg where a new celestial will be born out of it, and they're basically making sure that humans multiply, and when there's enough humans, the brain power will then awaken the celestial, which will come out of the earth, and the earth will shatter. So now our Eternals have to face the dilemma of, do they help humans and try to stop this from happening, even though that would mean that celestial would be obstructed from then creating more life on creating new universes, because that's what apparently they do, or they just let it be, and means all these humans they saw throughout the history, they will all die and their history will perish. But they are convinced to help. Some are, some aren't, to help stop this creature from coming up, because they love the humans, because then they saw the Avengers fight, so they think that it's not worthy to destroy these humans to get new life. So that's the story of Eternals, and we compared it with Man of Steel. Everyone knows Superman's story, but give us the briefest Superman origin that you can. If somebody on this podcast is listening to this and doesn't know what is Superman,
me to do it?
Yeah, do it really quickly.
The planet Krypton is at the verge of destruction. One scientist sends his only son to Earth.
Jesus.
Because he's Kryptonian, he takes the power of the sun and has superhuman abilities. And as he grows up, he becomes a hero to the world.
Mm-hmm. He uses his abilities to save people. It's perfect. Yes. You see? There you go. Superheroes, aliens coming from other Earth, worlds being destroyed. We're in the same zone, I would say.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's compare some movies. I want to ask you. There's a couple of topics I want to cover. So
you always bring in the topics. Always bringing in the topics. It's good. It's good.
I
like that.
I like talking about topics. So here's the funny thing. So the movie, like I said, I wasn't sure. I was really dreading this movie's gonna suck, like really bad. I'm gonna be bored out of my mind watching the Eternals. So I was like dreading, and then the dreaded, accursed scrolling text begins at the beginning of the Eternals.
I was wondering about that. I was like, is Tim gonna go back on what he said about when he complained about the Matrix? He was talking about how, imagine if the Matrix had scrolling text. Scrolling text. I hate scrolling text.
It's I hate when music, when it fades out at the end. I hate that.
Fade out.
Same thing. I hate scrolling text at the beginning of the movies. My butthole puckered. You know when the celestial disappears into a black hole in the Eternals? That's how my butthole was like, oh God, this is going to be dreadful. And then that thing went away, and I enjoyed the movie. I really liked it. Yeah, I was really into it. Once that part was over, I was like, oh my God. And then
I had the opposite.
Like that was like, oh God, Eternals, Deviants, Celestials is giving me oh my God, this is gonna suck. But
wow.
And then it moves on to Jon Snow and Cersei kind of chilling, and there's like this kind of natural approach to it. And they're talking, and there's interaction, and it's like I'm okay. This is different. Like this is not script text, and it's going to be people standing, and it's like, okay, this might be different. So I was okay. I was happy after that ended.
Okay,
but so it's interesting, especially compared to what I want to talk about is compared to Man of Steel is. Where do you suspension of suspension
disbelief?
Disbelief.
Suspension of disbelief.
Yeah, when you're adapting something like
suspending your disbelief.
Yeah, when you're adapting a comic book, and it depends what kind of era of comic book it's coming from.
Yeah,
and it's really because we talked about.
Well,
Jack
it also
Kirby.
Depends on the genre of what's being explained, because like the cosmic stuff that Jack Kirby was making up, he was making up essentially like mythology, right? But science fiction kind of fantasy mythology.
But it was
and
also
it's not
happened
for everyone.
it is not for everyone, but also it happened after, him and Stanley created all these characters where they
Yeah,
did the Marvel
after
thing, where they give him flaws, right?
yeah.
If you look at Superman, when he was invented, he's just like, he's invincible, and he's like handsome, and he does the little the hide thing. Like, there's not much substance to Superman when it was created. Like, after everything that was added to him, it's post. So it's very different. So what I found funny is with Man of Steel is like the kind of stuff they like. I don't know. Let me ask you this: the whole thing that he has superpowers because he's on a different planet, is that original Superman thing, or is it added in the movie?
It's not added in the movie. It's probably look, I don't know anything. As far as I know, Superman was a refugee from Krypton from the beginning.
Which I would imagine originally they would be on Krypton's. Kryptonians can do lasers out of eyes and they can fly and strong. And then later on, they
Yeah.
kind of retconned it, like, oh, because that's the kind of stuff that annoys me, really. Because it's like you can't, like, if you want to make a point about
Mhm.
humanizing and trying to, let's say, okay, what is this hero thinking through this situation, this impossible, crazy situation? You try to humanize him. You have to kind of not try to explain these things. Like, let's say,
Where are we going with this conversation?
like the S, right? Like the S on his shirt, right? Superman. In this
my
movie,
world,
they
it
go with
means
the whole
hope.
thing. It's a beacon of hope. It doesn't say S, and it's like, why even go there? Why concentrate on these things that don't add value? That you're trying to make it realistic, or trying to add realism to things that you could just gloss over. I think if you really want to relate to someone like
I
Superman,
think
concentrate on the human part of it, like the emotion, not about these. Well, it's silly that he has an S, right? He has a blue shirt and it says S because he's Superman. That's ridiculous. If you're trying to make a realistic movie, you kind of you're. I would assume you're. What they try to do is like, okay, let's make everything realistic. But I would assume, like, don't do that, because like in the Eternals, like, stupid thing. Let's say Eternals and Deviants. Those words and people talking about them sound hilarious. They sound cheesy and they sound old comic booky to me. And if you're trying to make a more, realistic, kind of naturalistic kind of movie, you would be tempted to avoid using terminology and exposition like that, right? They're coming to just like, but they didn't, which I think was a good thing, that you choose where you want to make it real and where you just leave it comic booky. That was my point. It's really weird saying it. It made sense in my head trying to say it, but I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say.
You mean like make them?
Because I see both of these movies trying to do the very similar thing, trying a different approach, not just take it out of a comic book and adapt it to big screen, but adapt it through a specific kind of style, right? This kind of,
Yeah.
it's different, I would say. And we can talk about the cinematography in a bit of how it looks and how they approach it, but even just the story and just the adaptation, like, what do you leave that's basically, schlock, or basically like straight out of a comic book, and what do you transform to be more dramatized, or what more realistic, or more, kind of humanistic?
Right. Well, what's your approach?
No, I was just saying, because I
Because
watched.
I feel like, Marvel has had this, the MCU in general, like it's like, it's had this thing where it tries to make fun of the silly parts that it had that were always inherent in the comic book narrative. And at some point it was fun and new, but after a while you're just like,
No, but
can we?
which ones do you mean? I know they did that with the X-Men at the beginning, but did they do
Oh,
that
you
in
mean
the
you mean the
MCU as
yellow
well?
spandex one?
Yeah, the
Is that
spandex
what you
joke.
mean? Yeah, but they didn't. They avoided that altogether. You know what I mean? But like, I can imagine in the MCU, and there's like 30 movies, so bear with me if I can't remember one of them or two of them,
Oh no, it's okay.
where it's like, oh, I know it's a silly thing, Oh, I know it's a silly thing, but let's go with it, Um,
I think my main
But
point, what I was trying to say is that, like, okay, so watching Man of Steel again, right? I remember
yeah,
I had a very similar feeling of watching it as I did. So it starts off, and you have this whole, okay, what's Clark Kent childhood as he grows up, because he has all these superpowers, and there's parents,
yeah,
and then his life, and that's very interesting, and it's also portrayed through cinematography and the storytelling through this very through emotions and through looks and through situations, right? So it's not
yeah,
a superhero where people are blasting their exposition at you standing in magical sets and things like that, right? Or in
right,
techno jabber jabber, we got to get this thing. It's like, right, you're approaching it like a drama, right? An emotional human drama, and that part is great because, okay, so you're thinking, okay, what would the experience, what would be the emotions of Superman if we're approaching this from a realistic standpoint? At the point where Zod returns, that movie whole completely loses it to me. Like it goes 100% to
hmm,
shit because it goes back to, laser beam from the sky, jibber jabber, techno jabber, exposition, where this, Krypton, all of this. And you completely lose that. And then throughout of it, you could see this, like, okay, so we have to, like,
hmm.
if you
I'm
take in
listening.
Superman, the way he was designed originally, none of this was considered, right? The archetype
No,
that was created is he's a good guy and he's got superpowers and he uses them, right? That's how comic books are written. So when you're trying to be
yeah,
realistic, you either have to
hmm,
sacrifice the traits, like what he wears, what are his superpowers, right? Like you can't explain that he has lasers out of his eyes because the sun has less radiation. Like that's just ridiculous. You can't make a serious drama movie and then expect the audience to kind of take that as well. Like, okay, yeah, that connection, like you know what I mean, right? Or that the symbol S means families. It's a coincidence that the symbol of the S means also that his family. Just my feeling is watching the movie. Those kind of moments take it away. So what you can do is remove all of that, right? Just completely. You have to kind of remove something from it, right? You either completely ignore those things, and like, it's an S, right? Over, who cares? You just glance over it, right? He's got a blue suit and it says an S on it. Who cares?
right,
Don't try to
okay.
explain it. That's one part of it. Or you kind of have to invent a different kind of character. Maybe
Well, in the
the
comics, what usually the way he gets his suit is that Ma Kent actually knits it for him from his from the cloth that when he was
wow.
born.
Okay.
I don't know if that makes it any better or not.
But maybe I don't know. It's just like that's just my feelings of like what. I guess I'm having trouble expressing what's happening in my head, so I'll try to write it down and post it somewhere. But anyway, I want to
Okay.
talk about I want to
I
talk
don't
about
know what I'm saying. What am I saying? What am I gonna say? I don't know.
doesn't matter, doesn't matter. I
Great episode. Great
That's okay.
episode. This
Okay,
time.
let's forget all of that. I'll try to write down my thoughts. Uh, um
Okay.
so I want to talk about cinematography.
Yeah.
So one of the things that the only thing I knew about this movie was I
Yeah.
was just like, I don't know, some news, but I was saying that, okay,
Yeah. She
director
was.
Chloe wants
Yeah.
to use natural light, which is like different to
I noticed that very much. I like that.
dude,
It was
because
nice.
so remember,
It reminded me a lot of Terrence Malick's movies for sure.
yes,
You're
and
using the same kind of lens. You're getting some natural light in there. It reminded me a lot. Like there's some scenes like when they were throwing the ashes of
yeah,
one of the guys that died, and then you could really see that nice little natural light. And it reminded me of The New World, if you've seen that movie from Terrence Malick.
yes,
Yeah. So that's kind of cool. You got those hand holding parts with the sun coming through, you got those things. But at some point, I'm sorry to say, at some point it felt like it was just trying to be Terrence Malick. It wasn't trying like that kind of movie. It was light. It wasn't all of that because there's like a balance between that and then the normal kind of cinematography that we've seen with the Marvel films as well.
And that's what I wanted to bring up because like there's few scenes where you can see even just the hand holding, right? That's different.
Yeah.
Like let's say the romantic scenes between Cersei and Icarus, those are kind of done like the New World, like people they're just have these the time how they edit isn't appropriate to real time. It's kind of skips about,
Yeah.
and they're not talking, it's music. It's very reminiscent of that, which is like the visual, like it's also matching it. But then the other times it's just the day, like the weather or time of the day, yet the camera movement is more catered for the action that's happening, like they're fighting. So it kind of switches between those two. But what I want to talk about is, so remember a long time ago, people were freaking out that the MCU looks boring. Remember Every Frame of Painting did a video and everyone was jumping on the bandwagon that
I think we need to address the fact that there's a lot of people who just jump the bandwagon without thinking about it, and then they just get very opinionated about it, even though they're not thinking for themselves.
And the funny thing is,
I want to put that disclaimer there because I also kind of think that a lot of the films tend to have a kind of like there's so little contrast to it that it does get a little bit boring to look at.
But what I mean, the thing was that, which was interesting to me, is people were saying, okay, that like it's shot bad, right? That was the criticism. But I think when I was looking at the examples, what they're saying, I think when they give the examples, this looks good. It's just the other ones have different digital grading, right? They had different contrast ratios. They had different like values for the colors. They have different blacks, and it was, while all the MCU movies, maybe apart from Dark World, they're all graded in a very kind of flat, natural, maybe imitating like just a normal film stock kind of thing. Like there's no changing of colors, there's no contrast added, there's none of that, which you would see in like Man of Steel.
I think
especially of that era as well. That was very popular to just like grade your movies like up to 11.
Yeah, I think that the cinematography in general for most of the Marvel films don't draw attention to themselves.
No.
At all. I can't think of any movie. Like I was gonna say Ragnarok, but even that is it feels like it's
no. It's the set design
ceiling.
is different.
Yeah,
but yeah, like the designs of where they are, the worlds and everything.
It feels like it's not there.
It's the same.
It's not. Yeah, it's not doing something extraordinary. And you know what? If there's nothing to talk about with the cinematography, there's nothing to talk about with it. One thing that I can think of, and this is gonna sound so funny because you're gonna say, "What the hell, Phil?" But I felt that the Avengers 1 had some kind of, at least it had deeper blacks and it had brighter brights. I don't know why I'm saying this. I'm just in my recollection. And it looked like a TV show. And I know you're going to say that. It looks like a TV show. But for some reason, it felt like it fit the context of the story and the world the most.
I mean, I would say, that's up to the viewer, like, how interpret. I think what I was trying to say is I think it's deliberate for so let's say
it has to be deliberate. You don't make 30 movies and they all are kind of the same.
And I think it's on purpose because it drives that kind of uniformity. So that all belong to, even though some, let's say you look at Winter Soldier, it's all shaky cam and it's like, it's like fighting for it, but the color is the same, right? As you compare to something like Thor Ragnarok, it's in space. There's like, sci-fi craziness
and the color is the
and everything.
same.
And the color is exactly the same. So that's why I was really curious. Okay, they said, okay, she's going to use natural color and everything. Like, what does that mean for the cinematography? And
well, it is what it means in the context of the Marvel films.
Yeah, and I kind of dug it. It was interesting because
I found it boring. So, and it's a very loaded statement, but like every other, like when I'm looking at shots from, I've been trying to understand why I am so uninterested in looking at any of the, like, there's none of the screenshots of any Marvel film that I can think
Mm-hmm.
of that I would be like, this is a frame that I would either remember or have as my wallpaper on my computer, which I don't do, by the way, but like, or like I would
Yeah.
have as a monument on my wall. I can't think of any of them other than there are very nicely framed shots, but there's something missing. There's something missing with them. Now, this is going to sound very unfortunate of me to say, but I think that for what it's worth, I mean, I think that Man of Steel has something that I find visually more appealing.
Mm-hmm. That's okay. That's what the
There he
conversation.
goes. There he goes, Phil. There he goes with his outdated
No,
opinions.
that's okay. Dude, like there's nothing out there. I wanted to have that conversation because I felt otherwise. Like watching Men of Steel, of the cinematography of approaching, and we're talking about this theme of humanizing it, right? Taking the Terrence Malick, this kind of introspective, emotional movie, and inspiring like that cinematography for both of these movies. And like I said, for the Eternals, the visual style, there's no grading. It doesn't go super desaturated. It doesn't crank the blacks to have that kind of feeling. It stays within the Marvel colors. Yet what they changed is like what's the weather and what is the daylight, because like
I mean, I did notice that for sure. Yeah,
the worst offender of that is Civil War. It's like everything is like
overcast.
overcast day, and it's like it just gets so bad. So seeing the same colors, but like let's say that scene when they're going into the jungle to visit whatever the druid man and his
The
little
guy that controls people's minds,
yes.
sort of. Yeah,
And then they go and visit him, and it's kind of like dusk, the kind of setting. And they go visit him and they talk to him. Usually in the Marvel movie, when the action would kick in, it would change to daylight. Like let's say time has passed, so like all the CGI and everything would just look the same. I really appreciate that whole action scene, kept that night. I would probably assume the visual effects guys hated her for doing this because they would have to match every single different kind of like setting to for the CGI. Like let's say even when those bionicles, like they had a little gleam of animals having the eyes as they're fighting in the scene. You couldn't clearly see them, but you could see the glare in the eyes because of
yeah.
like an animal thing. And I really appreciate that. Like I thought, like okay, we're still in the same visual style, but it's different. So like they're like how they managed to keep in sync of it's different, but it's still the same. So that was
Right.
interesting to me.
Mm.
Man of Steel, I completely appreciate the approach, what they did with the digital grading, everything's desaturated. And I would assume like this for the Eternals, it's more naturalistic, right? It's not
Mm-hmm.
trying to be realistic. It's not like I'm shaking like we're all pretending we're in a documentary, right? We're shaking the cam, things are out of focus, there's
Shoot
lens
me.
flares, there's bits on the
Yeah.
lens, while on the what's it called, on Man of Steel, there's a lot of that. Like
There's a
there's
lot of
this
that.
fake
Yeah.
like low budget, like we're running gun in this, even though it's like a huge a huge set.
Yeah.
It's all very deliberate, but it's kind of shot like that.
Yeah.
And I think I kind of get it, but I like when we talked about the theme of like fusing Superman and all of that. Like, there's a big discrepancy, especially when it goes into Snyder's mush mode for the final battle, when it's all just like gray, and I'm like,
It's nonsense. This is
it's just
just
I can't,
nonsense
I don't
mush
know what's
mode.
happening anymore.
Yeah,
I
that's
feel like
difficult to keep track of.
yeah, it's yeah, it's not my thing. I did not enjoy that. Like I did. It felt
Like you
too
did with
deliberate. It felt too much. I felt
what?
like
You mean Man of Steel with the
yeah,
shaking?
yeah.
Yeah, with the shaking and the zooming. Yeah, that
And
seems like.
just the color and the grading. It felt like it was trying to really say it's very, this is super dramatic. This is super serious.
It has a look of steel.
Yeah, yeah. It didn't
Man of
match with like
Steel.
the emotional connection. It didn't do for me as it's supposed to. It was too. The film part of it was way too
Mm-hmm.
uh, strong.
Any like, I feel like we.
That's okay. We can move on.
It just for some reason let me be honest. I'll be honest here, and this has
Yes.
nothing to do with your tastes or what you find is. That's my disclaimer. What you find is good and what I
Yeah.
find is good, but I just feel like so far I've seen attempts. Like this was a nice attempt at trying something that's a little bit different, but I feel like it just wasn't different enough for me.
Mm-hmm.
I just
I think we had this conversation before, and I think at some point, I don't know. I don't know what is it about it that I give it so much slack for this, or I came to terms with it, or I just kind of understood it.
yeah.
Is that with Marvel? I think there's a lot
I
of
think it's just so
criticism that people don't like that it's very samey. Like it's that it doesn't try to be different. And I've also I think thought of this in the past, but I think in the end I realized that might be the reason of their success. That everything
I mean,
is because
maybe.
I remember when Netflix came out with the Defenders, right? And I remember at the beginning it was hinted that it's canon because in the Netflix show like Daredevil
okay,
and Jessica Jones and all that's Luke Cage, they all hinted to MCU like the Avengers.
Yeah, they mentioned it
attacking
once or twice in the
Yes.
show.
So it was like, is it canon? Is it part of the universe? Because they were very different. It was R-rated. There was swearing. There was violence.
Yeah.
It was very hard themes, and it was also shot very differently. It was on TV. It was very grungy kind of look on the lenses, and there's effects and all this kind of very different to the big cinematic thing. And it was like, oh, this is crazy. I remember I was telling my friends like, oh, go watch, Jessica Jones. This is part of the MCU, but it's like so rigid and everything. And then by the time it kind of went, they stopped kind of associating
with it. Yeah.
And it doesn't, I don't think it's actually official. I don't know. I don't think there's been an official, but, and I was like wondering, okay, so are you like, is it maybe not the right, like this is not what they want? And then the what's it called? The Disney Plus shows came out this year, right?
Yeah, which look just pretty much exactly the same as
and
the movies.
The thing, like you have the whole, it's a TV with Vilma, what's her name?
Vilma,
the Scarlet Witch, and but it's still the colors. It still feels very MCU. Same with the whole Falcon and Winter Soldier. Starts off like drama, and there's like just different like lenses and different angles of shooting. Yet it still fits. So I think it's just a deliberate choice. I think they're just trying to make it.
It has to be. It has to be a
storyline.
deliberate choice. It can't be anything else.
Yeah,
you can't get so many creative people in like their job, being the creative people, to working on the same franchise, for lack of a better word. I hate the word franchise, by the way.
Yeah. So
and
if I want.
And
like
look, if that's what they're doing, that's what they're doing. That's fine. I happen to be on the other camp where I'm just like, man, like we talked about this before. If they were starkly different in look, and then you bring them together in one movie, the Avengers or whatever, that, in my opinion, would feel more exciting because you're bringing these different elements from very, very different looking movies together, and then it's going to be in their own movie that also looks different. And I would find that more exciting for myself. But they're doing something right because people are still watching.
People watch. Yeah, I think I just came to terms with it. It's not going to happen, and this is the way things are. And if I want to look at good cinematography, I'm not going to be looking to MCU.
Yeah,
I think it's just.
Which is why I mean, like, I'm already kind of, as you can tell, I'm a little bit already like, we got Thanos, we're done. That's how I feel, So as far as the Eternals is concerned, in my opinion, like, I'm sorry, Tim,
That's okay.
I try to these days. I'm not the man I was 13 years ago.
It's okay.
I go in hoping to understand and be as forthcoming and innocent towards the movie that I watch these days. But man, that movie was 2.5 hours long, and I don't do this often, but I was I was putting my hand on my head, and I was kind of leaning on the chair. And I was slowly dozing off. throughout the middle of the film.
And that's okay. That's reason why I'm glad you have a different opinion, because I wanted to talk about it, because like I said, I wasn't really interested in watching this to be honest either. It didn't look interesting because of the podcast. And then I was pleasantly surprised that I was really into the movie, like following it and watching throughout the entire thing, and like wanting to see where it goes, and didn't lose interest in anything, and was kind of like generally enjoyed watching the movie, probably even more than Shang-Chi, which
Well,
is
that's
strange to
interesting.
me.
I was thinking about Shang-Chi, and I was wondering, like, it can't be that Tim would obviously say that Shang-Chi was more entertaining and fun, because at least it had some kind of like, because like there's so many characters in this, and I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, because you can
Yeah.
watch movies that are ensemble and they work perfectly, but like there was no character that I felt was in any way compelling for me to give a damn, essentially.
Okay.
Like, because I don't, Icarus, sure, he's got an interesting like deal, because in the end, he's like, oh, I'm following my duties, and I'm gonna stop any of you if you're trying to prevent the birth of another celestial, even if it means destroying the Earth in the process. We'll just make another Earth. On paper, that sounds great, but when I was watching it, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's definitely not any of the actors' faults, because they all seemed pretty good to me. It was just something to do with there's so many of them, and none of them felt like they gripped me or my attention for any stretch of the film, because I really didn't care. Because I think that they were just, I don't think it's too much to say that, and this is also not fundamentally a problem, but they mostly just talk about things, and we have to get him, and then they talk about each other and how they used to be, and how the past was, and that's most of the film. And I'm making a face. I don't.
The silence that you heard was Phil making a side glance and just having the non-descriptive face. I do not care.
I was just waiting for them to get to the end. Really, I was just like, "Is this the climax? Let's hope it's the climax," because it's been a while, And I don't know if it's because I'm considering this as part of the 25 movies that came before, and that might have some baggage to it, but you can say the world is ending so many times, and there's more characters that are included in this universe for me to have my attention or my care for them just get more and more thin. That's how I feel. It's like, I was actually hoping, like, there was a highlight at the end when Jon Snow. Geez, what's his name? His name is. He has a funny name.
Some kind of Daniel, David,
Dunkel. No,
Dunkelman, Nathaniel. I don't know what his name was. The human, her new human boyfriend.
The actor's name is like something.
Poop. I'll tell you. I have things.
Duncan. You have a new Mac. Come on, it's fast. You can do it.
I have Kirk Harrington. Or that's Kit. Sorry,
Kit. That's what it was. That's his name. Kit Harrington and our main character,
Gemma Chan.
Yes, walking in that park that I actually went to in London with my friend Luke. Actually.
Oh, really? You were there?
Yeah, we were there, right on that hill. Yeah.
Nice.
And then what's his name? The big celestial.
I don't know.
Shows up. Yeah, he just shows up in the sky because he's so big, Yes. And I thought, oh, are we going to see the Silver Surfer? Is he going to show up? Is there going to be a Silver Surfer coming in? Because the Silver Surfer is a herald of Galactus. I don't know if you know who Galactus is. He's the eater of worlds. And I was looking into Galactus, and I was like, is he a celestial? It turns out he's not. But I'm like, that's it. I don't know anymore. I'm out of... I don't know. I was hoping there would be some kind of reveal, but it wasn't. It was just...
Okay.
It was just what's his face telling our main character, so Eternal, to you'll be careful.
Yeah, yeah. He took him. He took him. He's like, you guys disobeyed me, but I don't know what to do with you. You guys are
Yeah.
interesting, so I'll keep you in my
Yeah, I don't know.
dungeons.
To me, the Eternals just felt like
What?
when you go to like the store, you go to
Mhm.
a grocery store, and they would have a kids section of toys,
Mhm.
and they would all be kind of nondescript, really
Off-brand.
cheap off-brand toys, and you get this $1 package of 6 of them, and they all are like the same, but they have different colors.
Oh, like the sprites in a video game when
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like they're all
harder.
action figures,
Yeah.
and it's like hero guys, and they all look the same, like warriors of the cosmos. And then you have all of them; they all have the same armor except they're different colors.
Yeah.
That's how I felt with the Eternals.
And that's what I wanted to ask you because like I said at the beginning, the reviews are the critics reviews are in, and this is the lowest rated MCU movie, even lower than Thor: Dark World.
I mean, I can because I didn't have a very amazing time with it. I can see why, because it's like, I think that one of the reviews, and I really try not to read reviews before I watch a film, but I remember just glancing at one, and one of them just said like, "Oh, it's plodding, and it's just very tepid, and it's just very, it's just one straight line, and there's like nothing very exciting." And that's how I felt exactly.
Okay, so that's what I would ask because
It's
like
so long too.
I had a different experience. I don't know if it was because I really didn't anticipate anything. I was really like underwhelmed by.
Well, what drove you to follow these characters into this story? Because for me, the story is just
I like the characters. I think I like discovering of who they are and how each of them had a different experience and how it shaped them. Because basically, when they arrive as
you
those
feel
aliens,
like that was enough. Like I know the movie's long, but like it just didn't. To me, it didn't feel like it was enough.
Here's the thing: my only criticism, like my only amateur suggestion that I would give this movie, as a terrible listener and a podcaster, is like I think this movie would have been better as a TV series, as like a 6 episode, Disney Plus show. Like I would choose the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, make that a movie because there was not enough content for that to be a show.
I see.
Just
I didn't
make
see
that
it.
a movie and then make this a TV show because you have
well,
more
then you
characters.
could like, maybe that would be a good redeeming factor, because every episode you can focus on one of them, and at least you can give
or a
them
couple because there's these couples of like their friends. Either there's like each of them have like a little connection between them, so you could spend a different timeline. When
exactly, yeah. Because what did we have? We had Babylon. We had an ancient. What was it? The Mayan civilization.
Yeah, and there's also in India.
Like
there's
a
one.
little. This is a little bit in India, not too much. So
just like a wedding or something like that. I remember.
Yeah, and I don't remember much else.
No, I think that's it. I think there's just some general like clips going back for some specific things, but nothing spending too much time. Most of the time is in the present time when they're like solving this mystery and what to do about the world. It's kind of like shown and like going back and forward, like the skipping.
Yeah,
time thing.
and I was thinking about that too, and I was thinking, if you just reorganized it, it probably would be better. Just going from 7,000 BC to now, I think would be probably to its benefit, because it really felt like it was doing a Man of Steel. I think that was their influence there, because they were cutting between.
Yeah. There's also very similar kind of style, like until the last half, until General Zemo. What is his name? General
Zod.
Grievous. Jennifer Zod comes back.
Jennifer Zod, yeah, until Jennifer Zod shows up. Yeah. But at least for me, Man of Steel, and this is I'm gonna sound like such a moron when I say this, but
why are you doubting yourself? Because critics are on your side.
Because I always feel like someone's just gonna be like, if I make a statement, someone's gonna be, oh, you're one of them, and it's like, no, one
of who? What of who?
The cult of Zack Snyder. I don't know. I'm gonna say this, and I kind of understood Man of Steel more when I watched it now. I just felt, because it was about one person. It wasn't about a lot of other guys, and it was just about for, like, to an extent, depends on how well you think that it happened. Like, just how Superman, I don't want to say becomes Superman, but how he learns about himself,
Hmm.
and that was and I think that some of the flashbacks in Man of Steel related to what he was going through in the present day. And I felt like in Eternals it was just kind of haphazard. It was like here and there, and it didn't feel like it was giving me a better understanding or emotionally making me more attached to anybody.
Hmm. So you would say if I pose the question, how we started, okay, making a introspective, human centric version of a superhero movie, which both of these movies were trying to do, you would say that Man of Steel does a better job for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I yeah, and that's completely okay. I would say for me it was the other way around. I feel like watching Man of Steel again, I had the same kind of
Hmm.
feeling that I got the idea when I was starting it and I was into it, and I kind of, with the addition of all, inclusion of all the things you have to include with a Superman, like the suit and the eyes and Lois Lane and all this stuff kind of just starts cramming in. And then when General Zod comes in and this whole introspective, nice little of him living with his parents, that part goes away and it becomes, the CGI fest of nonsense, of things like I glaze my eyes and I'm completely gone. And then in the end, the story of like what does Superman learn, it didn't feel satisfying. I didn't understand it, like what.
Well, I think he learned it in the middle of the movie. He found out who he was and what he's here to do
And
at the
what is
middle of the
that?
film, which has become a beacon of hope to humanity because like it was pushed on him by not just his earthly father, but his extraterrestrial father, where he said, like, once the world, gets, can, when the world sees what you can do, they're going to look to you and hopefully you'll become a positive influence instead of a terrible one.
I guess. I
But like,
guess it doesn't feel.
but I'm saying its fault is that it stopped in the middle, and then we just have Zod, and then there's another little story with that where Zod is, he has the dilemma of, are you going, not really a dilemma, but like, he doesn't have a dilemma actually. No, he doesn't at all.
I think he's very
just has
like
to. He just has
straightforward.
to stop. He just has to stop Zod from.
Yeah, it's a
I
stop sign.
mean, yeah. I mean, on one hand, it's like, it's the fate of your biological uh, people is in your hands. Do you want to join me so we can, get this extinct race back?
It's very similar. It's very similar to the story of Eternals. It's like, do you sacrifice the humans for these
Oh wow,
other
you're right.
creatures, or do you not? So it's hilarious. And let me think, if we compare the outcomes. So in the end, um, yeah, I guess the thing is, like, if you in Man of Steel basically just has to defeat the bad guy, right, from him doing the thing. It's
Yeah,
interesting that in Eternals,
with a little bit of guilt because it's
yes,
Krypton, right?
yeah, it's like he's finally made some people that
Who
it
does
is
he
his, and
choose
he
to
has,
be with? He chooses the people of Earth
yeah.
instead.
I think in the Eternals, it was interesting that the final, they're trying to stop the whatever Icarus. He's the one. He's the pro of destroying the universe for the sake of the Celestials, and then in the end,
Right.
he is able. He has a chance to stop whatever Cersei or whatever her name is of doing. He has a chance to stop her stopping the Celestial being born, and then because of the love, he
Yeah,
doesn't.
he doesn't. He doesn't do
He
that.
can't
Yeah.
like that. He can't destroy her for the sake. Like,
Honestly, man, like, cut out like an hour of this movie and I think it'll be better.
can't be better. Interesting.
Well, because they're focusing on all of these characters, and I don't
Hmm.
like, what purpose do they serve other than this is a new character? We need to have more Eternals than just two of them. Like, it just feels like it's trying to focus on every one of them. And when I was
Hmm.
watching the film, I felt like, look, maybe it's true that Chloe Zhao and the rest of the team, that they were they really went through all the comics and really started to love the idea of this thing. By the way, I wanted to mention,
Yes.
it really, one positive thing that I felt about Eternals was like, I was always thinking like, how are you going to do, like if you were going to do like a Silmarillion, which I really hope you don't.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
This for me, it was like, okay, from this, I can see like, the Valar, right?
Yes.
Same kind of thing, right?
Oh yeah,
'Cause
yeah.
they're
They
like,
come into Earth and they got their duties and stuff.
exactly. And they mingle with, no, they don't mingle, they just like interact with the inhabitants of the world and shape the world with them. And, they're kind of like bastions of like the higher purpose and,
Yes.
all that. And I guess it's the same as with Greek mythology. It's the same thing. It's like these higher beings. And how do you show that kind of relationship without making it not resonate with you?
Yes.
I could see that in Eternals a little bit. At least that to me, I was like, oh, okay, I can see that. I can see that more.
And maybe it's rooted in the the whatever we're doing in the 70s in the comics, but basically eliminating that whole like, oh my god, you're not like when in Man of Steel, so Lois Lane sees Clark Kent and she follows him to the hole in the ice and they see the spaceship and then she goes back, she writes a story.
Yeah.
And then Morpheus is like, I'm not going to publish this. Like, people are not going to believe that aliens exist. I'm so sick of that trope. Like, I just love that in the Marvel, it's like everything goes. Like, it is a universe where superheroes and supernatural things work. Nobody's questioning shit anymore. That it's like, oh my God, I don't believe you. It's not real. It's like, at some point, when you're doing a superhero, you have to stop with the whole, like, I can't believe that this is happening. Like, what? No one's going to believe you that aliens exist. And it makes sense for the Man of Steel. I mean, that's establishing a universe. So it's great there, but it's just something I appreciate in.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I was thinking the same thing. I was like, when she's talking to Kit at the end on the hill in London in that park that I was in.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh yeah. Yeah. Makes sense. Cause like, I think that everyone, like, I was just like, okay, at least you're aware that at this point,
after everything that happened, everyone knows everything. It's like, you can't be going like, oh my, what? I can't believe you're supernatural. It's like, oh, okay, I guess, in this universe, people just, it's okay. Sure. And that's a good thing. I'm not trying, I don't know. I'm really curious why a lot of people hate this and why for some reason I enjoy it. Because I'm very critical of movies usually.
I know you are. We have podcasts about it. I wanted to bring back to that topic that I didn't finish, where I said I'm sure that Chloé Zhao and all the people working on this probably just really loved the source material, and they wanted to make something that was reflective of the density of all the things that happen in the cosmic Marvel storylines. But I think it's a classic case of they cared so much that they tried putting as much as they could in there, to the detriment of me actually like paying attention. Like, I was paying attention. I was watching the movie clearly, but like, I was just of me caring about
getting into it, like just buying into it.
I don't care about Sprite. I don't care about the mute girl. I don't really care about the guy who can, like, he had a little bit of a like, oh, we should be able to control them because then they'll have a better life, so humanity can have a better life, so I can just control their minds and they don't have to fight anymore. And it's like, yeah. And then like, I didn't care about Angelina Jolie and her
buddy
and her PTSD or her virus. Yeah, and I didn't care about her buddy. I didn't care about Kumar.
with his friend with the camera,
with his friend with
many cameras,
with the many cameras,
with the mini DD at the end.
I don't know. There's nothing that to me. There's nothing that congealed any reason for me to really care, other than it just felt to me like, okay, we're gonna have these characters for the next movies, and that okay.
That's completely cool. I really wonder if you guys saw, Eternals, or you're a big fan of Man of Steel.
And I'm not even going to bring up the Thanos thing. I'm not going to bring that up.
There's a Thanos thing?
The Thanos thing. Like the whole we're not allowed to interfere unless there's deviants. And it's like, dude, Thanos just like probably, like brings, I don't want to talk about that. I
Oh yeah,
believe. I think.
but that's okay. You just
For
have
me,
to
for me, the
suspend
reality.
this like
That's the thing. For me, the reality of the fact is that the Eternals should have been in the Marvel canon a lot sooner.
I
Behind the
guess.
scenes. You know what I mean? Like it should have been. Like they should have established something if they were going to go run with it, because it feels like it's too late to fit that into the continuity now because you put Thanos in there. Because Thanos is an Eternal.
I guess. I don't know. I mean, I guess makes sense. Like they would be doing something, but it's also like, dude, there's so many characters. Like, so
Yeah, and
like
it's just getting more and more, and I feel like more and more is not gonna be. It's gonna be hard for you to go through that.
it's going to be very different. I think that whole, going from Iron Man all the way to Endgame, that kind of everyone's
miss
paying
Iron
attention.
Man.
Everyone's in the movies are coming out and it's a tentpole. Everyone's going to go see them. This whole MCU of that kind, that's going to be gone. I think it's going to be more as like the comics, like everyone was reading the comics, and then
Sure.
the 80s and 90s, you like your favorite comic and you're going to be paying attention to that, and
Well,
maybe you look at
that's
the
why
big thing.
that's why I wished Eternals wouldn't have been about, like maybe it would have been better if it wasn't about Earth. It wasn't anywhere near that. It could have had its own story, and I think that probably that would have been better moving forward. And I'm glad you said that, like the MCU, because I firmly believe that there is an expiration date for any kind of narrative and any kind of series.
Everything.
Everything
will suck at one point.
you either end up in you end up with a big bang and you're done,
Yeah.
or you fade off into just getting worse at some point. Maybe there are going to be points where it goes high, but I don't think that it's going to reach the same steady trajectory that the MCU did once they finished with Infinity War and Endgame.
Like, look at Disney. It was great, then it sucked, and it was great, and then kind of sucks now, and you never know. You never know when it's going to pop back in.
Yeah, and so like if I don't know what's going to happen to Marvel Studios, but they're still fine, they're still secure, but I just feel like that maybe their best interest would probably be to not try to imitate what they did with the first 3 phases that they had. Don't you think?
I think that's what they're doing. I think it's going to be,
if Eternals wasn't about end of the world stuff, it was if it was a different planet, if a thing came out in a different, and I know it's because Jack Kirby and he did the Eternals thing with it being Earth centric as well, but like to me that was just like, oh, it's another Earth threatening thing again. Didn't Spider-Man didn't have that, right? No, it didn't.
Spider-Man usually
No Way Home.
New York.
No, not that one. The other one, Far From Home. That one. That one didn't have any.
It was a
Earth
faker.
threatening
Yeah,
thing.
it was
that
a fake
fine.
world ending thing.
What happened? What else came after this? Loki was a whole different thing.
Loki was time
also
stuff.
wasn't world threatening.
Nope. Shang-Chi wasn't world threatening. It was a secret world threatening.
Yeah, that one's kind of.
That was a secret, secret underneath the world.
And I didn't like that either. But I feel like if
what else came out? I forgot.
Don't you think that it's better? I think that's it.
Is it
Black Widow?
Oh,
but
yeah,
that was I
don't know.
I didn't even see it.
I saw that. That wasn't very good. That wasn't very good. Unfortunately, that was kind of pointless.
But yeah, I think that I don't know. Like, I just feel like it's better if they just didn't do the.
I have no idea. We'll see. Do you know at the end when?
Oh yeah.
Jon
I was
Snow?
like, well, yes, because I stayed, Tim. This time I stayed.
You remembered that the bits.
I remembered. What was the in between one?
In between one was as like when another Eternal pops out.
Oh
like
yeah,
they're on a ship and
Eros, the brother
yeah.
of Thanos, and I was like, where were you this whole time?
He pops up, and then the last one is
and that stupid elf guy. I can't with this. I can't with this.
Can't with this. You're turning into
because
Luke.
I don't what am I excited about? What am I gonna? What do I care what he's gonna do? What do I care?
I guess, but I guess
because like with like I don't want to draw any comparisons, but like with I can tell you exactly that with Iron Man it was. Dude is in a cave and making a suit of armor to escape, has an idea. I could use this power to, to save lives instead of,
Mm-hmm.
destroy them, the story goes on like that,
Right.
and then all of us, and here we are at the end, like at the moment with arrows coming in. The hell are you? What are you gonna do? Like, I don't know. Like,
I don't know. But
what's
that's a
your,
stinger, though.
you know what I mean? Like, I
Yeah.
get it, but like, I was just like,
That's why I want to bring up the other one because
but then
you
the
are
funny
very.
thing is that I do get excited about like other characters. Okay, you know what? Maybe my thing is, maybe I'm just,
Maybe you're just in a
maybe
bad
I'm,
mood today.
maybe I'm in a bad mood, but I just mean like maybe I'm a little biased because I don't know anything about Eros. I don't know
I don't know
what he
anything about
does.
arrows. I don't
I
know.
know
I don't know
because
who
like,
that is.
well, that's the thing, right? But like, if they showed Galactus, for example, or if they showed the Silver Surfer, I would be like, ah.
I see, but yeah, but I don't. That's the whole thing. Like, I am not looking forward to the new Spider-Man just because of all the Sammy Raimi junk that they're putting in there. I'm like, I'm no, and
Yeah, well, fair enough.
everyone's like super gleeful that the Eternals are having bad reviews because everyone's is just like getting their boner for the new Spider-Man. And they were like, where were
Is
you?
it a
Where were all of you suckers when the first two Spider-Mans, which were really great movies and really good Spider-Man movies, when they came out and everyone's bullshitting that, the first two Spider-Man are the best one. Now they combine them and you're all just like going, not you, but the other people, they're going mental and they don't care about anything except the new Spider-Man. When is the next Spider-Man trailer? Because they want to see those three Spider-Men together because I don't understand that. That's what I understand. That's what frustrates me. It's like, come on, let that be. Let's have some news stories. Let's see who this Eros is. Let's see where this goes. Enough of with this, like.
I think now that you mentioned that, I was just thinking like maybe the reason why I am a little bit I was slightly like just annoyed. I don't want to say annoyed.
Mm-hmm.
I was not amused with the whole thing where Eros shows up, brother of Thanos. I think it was because I lost it. I lost it.
You lost your thought. That's okay.
I lost my thought.
Well, we're about to end up anyway. We're way over
Yeah.
line on today.
Hold on,
But
hold on. I lost it because I don't remember. I don't. There was something. I had something. I had something in my hand, and it flew away like dust.
Thanos snapped it away from. But okay, so listen. So the other
Yeah, the other
whatever.
one was like some voices like you don't want to do. Was he Arthur? Was he King Arthur? Is that what it is?
You know who
Is
the
that what
voice
they're?
is?
No.
The Blade. Not the
Oh, it's
Blade. Sorry,
Blade.
Blade. It's Blade.
Blade.
So I
I
can't
didn't know
wait for
that.
you because you're a big fan of Blade, the movies.
I can't
And I am
believe you're
too.
not.
I love those movies, but I'm not just like, I don't have this weird protection of it like you guys have for the same Raimi. Like, you can't do Blade anymore. You can't, this is the perfect Blade. Like, I don't give a
Wesley
shit.
Snipes was so good.
I love those movies. They're great, but it's like, it's also like, just do
I
another
think it's
one. Who cares?
because we're doing it in the Marvel box, and I'm
Yes.
so afraid that the Marvel box will be just another $5 action figure instead of the $30 deluxe detailed unique thing that I would want to buy.
Well, we'll see. I mean, I think I'm coming to understand. I am okay with the trade off that it's not a perfect, unique movie for the trade off it being in the cinematic universe. Because what you're saying, that it being different and then they merge, I don't think that would work. I think they got it with it being very like you have to compromise on some things. So we'll see.
Okay, but
and
to
I'm
what
completely
end?
okay.
So what do you but then what are you expecting then? Like, okay, so we have Blade. Okay, it was an okay film. Let's say the MCU
Yes.
Blade was an okay
Whatever,
film. What are we
it's
expecting
okay,
next?
it's
What are you
bad, it
expecting?
sucks.
Where's the end game for you? End game.
Where's the end game? Just like, just this like whatever continuation of the big story, right? You use him as a small part somewhere down the line, or he shows up in a like kind of adventure kind of thing. He's a big part of it. Whichever. I'm, and the thing is, and I don't want them to be bad movies, right? I'm not like, oh, I rather have them be bad and be part of the MCU, but I guess I'm to terms with it. That even if it turns out bad, it's like it doesn't hurt. It doesn't.
Okay.
So
I'm
it doesn't
assuming
affect me personally.
Okay, so you're saying it affects me personally?
No, I said it doesn't affect me personally. Like if they do another Blade Runner and it's completely underwhelming.
You mean Blade?
Damn it, Blade! I'm sleepy. Do Blade and it's
sorry.
It's compromised because it needs to be part of the MCU and it's just a sucky movie and it's bland.
Yeah, blood-sucky movie.
And it's terrible and it's like, okay, that happened and whatever.
You think Blade will have a Whistler? You think he'll have Whistler?
I have no idea. I don't know how much of those Blade movies that they made are actually comic book accurate.
So I found out that Frost, Deacon Frost, is a character in the comics. But he flies, and he's old man. He's an old man with a mustache.
Ah, see, there you go. Not. Yeah. So who knows? I'm just like completely okay with it.
Okay.
I'm not bothered by this.
So let's just conclude that by saying that I think that you're just here for the ride, and you find it entertaining, and you just want to. You're just here for the next issue.
Yeah, and I feel like I'm going to be part of it. Like even like I might have not seen the Eternals if it wasn't for the podcast.
Just glancing. Yeah.
Like I would see, this one looks like people like it. I'll go see this one, or this one's I'm interested in personally. Like I'm interested in the next Thor movie because I like Thor Ragnarok and the other movies. Maybe I'll see it, maybe I won't. Who knows? You never know.
All right, cool. So that's about it. I think we're done.
I think we're done. Yeah, let us know on Instagram if you saw Eternals.
Yeah, we're gonna do a live chat again in the middle of the week or something. I don't know. We'll figure it out. I think we'll have more things to talk about because I think that's a great option for us, Tim.
Yes,
wouldn't mind doing it more frequently. To be honest, I think it's kind of fun.
Yeah, as much as we can do it. I'll try to gather my thoughts on. Well, I think we went through what I was trying to say.
I'm sure that some of the people who will join in on the chat will write something that we can talk about. I'm pretty sure someone's going to bring an opinion and then we're going to be like, aha, yeah.
Indeed. All right. Yeah. Well, let us know what you think. What?
So, Tim, have you watched Squid Game?
Yes, I did.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Did you?
I'm watching it with my friends from Canada. We have one more episode. One left.
Okay. Well, we can talk about Squid Game on Instagram.
One left.
Two left. Two Full Podcast. Follow us on Instagram, Two Full Podcast. Tell your friends. Otherwise, Phil will be sad if people don't listen to the podcast. And you have a great week or 2 weeks. We love you.
I love you. You love me.
Hurrah.
We're as happy as
so it ends.
Did I say something?